Hey, what's going on YouTube? Got Outdoor Gear Dad here. We're gonna start making a knife. And if you've watched some of the other videos, and if you haven't, I would encourage you to go check out the other videos that I've posted. This is really just documenting my journey through learning how to make a knife. I wanted to just kind of reiterate, if you haven't watched the other videos, that I'm not a professional knife maker. In fact, I am extremely new to this as a hobby. And so I would encourage you, as you watch this, if you actually know what you're doing when it comes to knife making and you see something that I'm doing wrong, put comments below, because I want to know how you do things. But I really just wanted to give other viewers an opportunity to follow this journey with me. So you've seen the grinder setup that I have and how I set it up with the different motor. I've talked extensively just about my love for knives and why I got into this journey and really this idea of making my own knife. And so now I want to just take you through the process over several episodes of me actually making a knife. And so that's what we're going to start today. And today we're going to actually be drawing out the knife that we want to make onto the steel, and then cutting out that actual blade itself from the steel billet. And then in later episodes we'll get into actually like profiling the blade down, surface finishing it, all of that stuff. And again, I am not a professional knife maker. I would actually even make the statement that I don't really know what I'm doing. I've just been watching YouTube videos and I've been asking a lot of questions to people that do know what they're doing. So yeah, if you have thoughts or comments or anything like that, please leave them below. Anyway, so the style of knife that I'm going to make today is kind of your typical Nessmuck style knife. I haven't got into drawing out my own knives yet. I'm going to do that later. Right now, I'm just focused on finding a good template. And Dan Camo, I talked about him in my first episode. He's got an incredible knife blog and he's got a bunch of free templates that you can use. So this is actually a template from Dan Camo's knife blog. And so I've just printed this out, scaled it to the size that I want. I've cut it out, and this is the template that I'm going to use. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out some steel here, and I'm going to basically trace this knife pattern onto the steel so that I can get the most use of this steel, and then we'll start cutting it out. So as far as steel goes, when I started, I was using just a old saw blade, and I was using very limited tools and just kind of using what I could to make some little things. And now I'm actually buying some better quality steel. But I will say, steel is expensive, and the more you buy, the cheaper it is, and there's a ton of different resources. And so what I've been doing lately is just buying it on Etsy. Bramley Custom Knives is an Etsy store. It's owned by a guy named Travis Bramley, and he's got some 1095 steel on there that's really affordable. I've really enjoyed working with it. It comes annealed already, so it's soft enough that I can grind on it and before I harden it. He ships quick. It's a lot more affordable than some of the other places out there. Now today I'm going to be using, just because I've had some requests from some people to make a knife in 01 tool steel, so I'm going to be using some 01 steel today. And again, these are just, I've ordered these online. And these are just 01 tool steel billets. So these are an 1/8 inch thick by 1.5 inches. And then these come, let's see, 19 inches long. So this will give me a couple knives, probably 2 of these Nessmuck style knives, and then a little bit extra that I can make some sort of like neck knife or something out. So let's draw out the template on these, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I got my steel laid out here, and I've cut out the template from Dan's blog, which again, there's a link in the description below. And what I like to do is just kind of lay this on there and see, how many of these can I trace out on this piece of steel. And it looks like I'll be able to get 2, and then I'll have a little bit of steel left over here. And I always keep this scrap steel. I'll throw it in my forge to then put in my quenching oil to heat my quenching oil up, but we'll get into that later. But this will give me at least 2 of these knives per steel billet here. Now, as far as tracing this onto the actual steel itself, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of people use this blue die chem, and they actually paint it on here, and then they scribe where they're going to be cutting it. This stuff dries really fast, and it allows you to, scribe on there and see the line. I don't know why they do that on there. So there's probably a legitimate reason, and I just don't know. So if anybody does know why they do that rather than just using like a Sharpie, let me know. I do use this for scribing the center line, which again we'll cover later. But this just seems to be easier for me. So let's start tracing this on here. All right, so we've got 4 of these traced out here. Now you'll notice my template was shifting around. It probably wouldn't hurt to actually like tape it down, but sometimes I just get lazy and it's easier here. I'm gonna cut these out eventually and then profile and make sure that they're all even, so that I'm getting a consistent result. However, I've got them on here. So again, if you know why people use this to actually paint the whole thing and then and scribe it on there, let me know. I haven't figured that out why they're doing that yet, but this has worked for me. So just tracing it out with a Sharpie and going from there. I haven't marked my holes yet, my pin holes, but I'll do that after I get that roughly cut out. So we've got our steel and our knife drawn out onto the steel, and now we actually have to cut this out. Now there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. In the beginning, when I literally had nothing, like handsaw, angle grinder, and even up until recently I was using an angle grinder, and I was literally just using a clamp to clamp this down to my work table, and I was just taking an angle grinder and I was just kind of getting it out, cutting it out as best as I could, and then taking it over to my 2x72 grinder with a ceramic belt and profiling it out. But that took a long time, and it made a huge mess in my shop. So somebody recommended a Porta Bandsaw, and let me see if I can get this down here. So this is a DeWalt Porta Bandsaw, and this is basically a portable bandsaw, and it's designed for cutting really strong pieces of steel. I saw guys online like cutting farming equipment and stuff like that with it. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to mount it to a table that was designed to hold a Porta Bandsaw, and that's going to allow me to cut this out in a more clean fashion and also a more precise fashion. So I'll be able to make a cleaner cut. And so let's get over and hook up this Porta Bandsaw to the table and start cutting out these knife blanks. So I mentioned that I was using an angle grinder in the beginning, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But the angle grinder was taking a long time, and it was just making a complete mess in the garage, just throwing steel bits everywhere. So I had a buddy, Chris from Plainsman Knives. I guess he's a buddy. I've never actually met him, but he answers all my questions. I own his knives. We talk all the time, so I'll call him a buddy. Chris recommended switching up to a Porta Bandsaw, which I showed you earlier, and a Porta Bandsaw table. Now these are kind of hard to find, but the company that he recommended is a company called Swag Off-Road, and you can find them online. And they make these right here in America. It's just CNC steel, and then there's different versions and different options that you can get. I went with the powder-coated top and the footstool, which I'll show you in a minute. And this just allows this to be stable so that I can get really clean and even cuts, use it just like a bandsaw. But these Porta Bandsaws are designed to be cutting through this steel. So let me show you a closer look of just this setup here, and then we'll actually get cutting. Again, I went with the powder coated version on the top. It's definitely not something you have to do, but I just thought it would be nice. So how this works is you mount your Porta Bandsaw to this table. There's different holes here for different types of saws. And once you get it mounted, I went with the foot pedal options. You can see down here, I have a foot pedal that runs up behind my work table here. And then basically the foot pedal plugs in, and then the saw plugs into the foot pedal plug here. And that will allow me to use the foot pedal to turn it on and off. So if I just, and so on. So they also give you a little Velcro strap right here, and this is just to hold down the actual power button for the saw. So with that held down, now the foot pedal will work and will activate. So this is a great setup here. It's made my life a lot easier as far as cutting out the actual blanks from the steel billet. So let's go ahead and get some of these cut out. All right, so before we get actually cutting on this, I do want to just talk really quick about safety. So right now I do have my, I don't know if you can see it in this shot, but I do have an air filtration system going on in here. And that's just to circulate the air here in the garage since the garage door is closed. Just want to pull a lot of that, that airborne dust and metal into that if I can. So I have that running. I do wear some safety goggles. I went with the ones that actually cover my eyes, like ski goggles, or like ski goggles. Just because these are the only two eyes I have, and I don't want a piece of metal to fly off, or if you just use the glasses, you still run the risk of things popping in. And then I got some ear protection. I do have some over-the-ear ones, but for this video, I'm just using kind of the insert little foam ones. And then I do use a respiratory mask, and I replace these filters out pretty often, every month or so. Now, when I'm doing this, I do have gloves, cut-resistant gloves, but this bandsaw is going to cut right through a glove if it hits it. This might, reduce the amount of damage it would do to my hands. But what I found is that without the gloves, I can actually feel what's happening with the saw. So if I'm hearing something sound a little off, or I'm feeling something starting to shake, I stop what I'm doing and I kind of check out what's going on. So you can certainly wear gloves. I personally just like to take things really slow. I like to be overly cautious about the things that I'm hearing and how I feel, how it feels. That way, if anything's off, I know and I can stop. So it's just really important that you're being careful around this. So just wanted to kind of cover the safety things that I do to make sure that while I'm cutting these out, I'm protecting myself. All right, so we've got this cut out now, and you can see that we still need to go in and just profile it up a little bit here and clean it up. But you can see that that takes not very much time to do with this. Still got a couple more to do over here, which I won't make you sit through, but very quickly, very clean, not a huge mess here. So we will get this cleaned up now. I'll cut these other ones out and then we'll get this cleaned up. Okay, so we got our knife blank roughly cut. Now I'm using a 36 grit ceramic belt, and this belt is actually probably on its last leg here. It's getting time to replace this belt. But really, the point here and what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to clean this up. You can see kind of where I've had to restart a cut on the Porta Bandsaw, and I still got some blue showing here. So I'm just, the belt, I'm not doing anything precision here. So that's why it's okay that I'm just using this belt. And so I'm just going to shape this up roughly, clean it up so that it looks nice and profiled the way that I want it. And then we will get going. Same set of safety stuff that I'm going to be using here. I'm going to be using some ears and some eyes and a mask. Also going to take the lid off of my water bucket down here just to catch any steel that's dropping. So let me get set up here. Cool, so we got 3 of them cut out here. I still got 1 more to do. But you can see that these, for the most part, all match up. There are some areas of blue on some of these that I got to go in and grind again. Now, what I like to do is after I kind of cut it out, I place the original template on it, and anywhere that is showing, I will mark. Now, earlier, I said, I don't understand why people use this for this portion. And after doing these, I think I realized it. Sharpie rubs off, it starts getting warm, and it just rubs right off. So I think that's why they use this. So on this blade right here, I actually went in, and when I lined up my template on there, I actually used the steel blue Dimex to mark where I was still needing to grind off. So I think that's why they use this. So we've got these cut and a little rough grind on it just to profile it out, and we'll be ready for the next step. Hey, so thanks for watching this episode. The next episode that we're going to be doing, we're actually going to be, these will be cleaned up by then, and we're going to actually be marking the center line. We're going to be scribing that center line so we know where we're going to be putting or how far we need to be grinding. So we're going to start looking at doing the actual grinds for the edge and for the bevels. And we're also going to be drilling and marking our pinholes and some extra holes so that when we put the scales on, the epoxy can set in there really well. So that'll be the next episode. So go check that out. In the meantime, I'm going to get this other one cut out. And I'm going to get it cleaned up just like this. So we have 4 blades to work with. And hopefully out of those 4, one of them will be satisfactory and we'll have a decent knife. So again, if you've been following this journey and you've subscribed, thank you. If you haven't, please go down and hit the subscribe button. I really want you guys to be able to walk this journey with me. And when you do go down and you hit subscribe, it sends you a notification when I've updated the next episode. So if you're following this and you want to see what I do next, it'll notify you that I've posted a new video. Go down and click like, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in this next episode.